Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Precious Chukudi and
Damlola Bushaki.
alright, before we move straight into the papers, there's something that caught my eyes this morning and it's the headlines that says fake COVID-19 test result on sale. I mean, when I saw this online yesterday, I was like, really? I mean, we've gotten to that level where we even have to make fake results. It is really alarming. But then let's just move straight to the front pages of the papers. And the main story says fake COVID-19 test results on sale. Lagos State government raises alarm. The writer says 236,212 tested so far. Sets up 10 oxygen centers in high-burden local government areas. NMA decries sensationalism attached to death of 20 doctors. 30 million Nigerians affected as learning poverty rate rises to 63% in Nigeria. Others due to COVID-19, says World Bank. You can see that story on page 5. And we have a further story of a Papa gridlock inspection with the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Stories above, we have IBB Abubakar Ogbe. Others pay tribute as Sam Nda Isaiah is buried. You can see that on page 14. And on page 12, federal government not interested in Niger Delta's development, Ledun Committee and others saying that one. On page 11, Apapa gridlock, Lagos takes over traffic management from PTT, Sanwo-Olu. On page 4, we have insecurity. We never apologize to Buhari for inviting him to National Assembly, Rep says. And stories beneath, we have northern groups, CAN, SMBLF clash over Kuka, Murik, CAN, Catholic Church, Southern Middle Belt leaders in war of words. Northern coalition hits at Kuka. He never called for coup, CAN. We stand by Kuka, Catholic Secretariat. You can't suppress voice of reason. Southern Middle Belt leaders tells presidency and NEF. On page 7, Lagos bound truck crashes in Niger, kills at 23, injures at 22. That's a very sad story. And lastly, on the front page of Vanguard, MSME Survival Fund, federal government moves enlarging scope, reach of scheme. You can see that on page 13, and that's Osibaju saying that one. Away from Vanguard, move straight to the Punch newspaper.
And down the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have a COVID-19 second wave. Federal government and National Assembly consider a United Kingdom, United States flight ban next week. Lawmakers, ministry holding meetings, considering all options, says a Senate committee chair. Also, a fresh ban can hurt economy. That's coming from stakeholders. Lakers goals after fake COVID-19 certificate sellers. You can see the story on page 2. Now on page 9, we are Sule says, I visited United States to see my children, not for checkup. Soldiers DSS arrest 6 planning protests in Oshun. You can see that on page 8. Also on page 5, we have Accident kill a businessman over cigarette lighter in Ondo Hotel. 23 killed as Lagos bound truck crashes in Niger. You can see that on page 5. Also on page 9, Kuka receives backing. Catholic says bishops attackers agents of evil. Afrixim Bank predicted 10% rise in the 2021 oil prices. You can see that on page 19. On page 20, National Assembly transmits a 13.5 trillion naira budget to Buhari. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, transporting containers in Lagos equals a shipping cost from China, and that's according to reports. You can see that on page 11. And from the front page of Punch newspaper, we'll go straight to the Nation newspaper.
And on the Nation, the main story says Kuka's attack on Buhari draws more flack. Backing. The writer says Arewa Youth Coalition lash cleric. Southern Middle Belt leaders, bishops gives support. And there's a statement that says it also furthers the irresponsible and unacceptable practice of preachers using the pulpits to promote falsehood and incite their followers against certain sections. And another write-up that says, we want to remind the federal government and its attack dogs that in the past they have equally welcomed the forthright view of this man of God when it favored them. That's serious. And on page 5, we have IMF rates Nigeria's GDP top in Africa. It's 26th globally. Also, Lagos to battle Apapa gridlock with special squad. And on page 6, how my husband and I ship young girls to Italy for prostitution. Lastly, on the front page of The Nation, 23 dies in Lagos-bound truck accident, 22 injured in crash. Away from The Nation, move straight to This Day newspaper.
And on the front page of This Day newspaper, we have raw growth over Bishop Kuka's criticism of Buhari at Christmas. And President Haid, Norton Group, SMBLF, Khan and Catholic Church take sides. You can see the story on the front page, and it continues on page 9. We have a PDP director Saraki committee to reconcile Makinde and Fayose. You can see that on page 5. Also, Fidelity Bank announces board retirements, new appointments. You can see that on page 6. And lastly, on the front page of This Day newspaper, we have NNPC records 222.3 billion gross revenue in November. Crude oil income grows by 500% compared to previous months, and corporation loses 1.88 million barrels to shut-ins. You can see this story on the front page, and it continues on page 8 of this day newspaper.
And that's all we can take on the front pages of the papers this morning. We're moving into the newspaper analysis segment after this break. Stay with us. Ports face total shutdown nationwide. See page 5.
She overwhelmed by security challenges.
Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard. Here on Today in the News, we
read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories on the front pages of the paper.
Also take your insightful comments on what's going on here in Nigeria and across the world. Join us Mondays through to Friday
on Vanguard Live.
Alright, welcome back. If you just joined in, it's still Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Precious Tripoli and
Dangola Bunshake.
And you're welcome to Newspaper Analysis segment. We're joined in by our guest, very important guest, like I always like to say. In the studio, he's in the person of Mr. Dayo Akintobi, publisher of Ilupeju today. Good morning, sir. It's good to have you join us.
Compliments of the season to you, Precious, and Damilola, and to all our viewers out there.
Thank you so much. So let's just move straight to the front pages of the papers, and it's the alarming news of the fake COVID-19 test result on sale. And there are reports that people are patronizing, individuals that sell, and also, people who also buy this result. What do you make of the situation?
It speaks to the corruption that is part and parcel of our DNA that has historically been with us for a very long time. First of all, people are not taking COVID as serious as the second wave. Even the first wave, people are not taking it as serious as if it is a matter of life and death. Otherwise, what does it really take to do a test to find out if you are positive? We have a propensity to want to cut corners in Nigeria against protocol or things that will cause us a little bit of inconvenience. That's why you see people driving one way when there's traffic. That's why you see people trying to jump queues in the bank and at ATM machines. It's that same general cultural orientation that says that we don't want to go through process. We need to cut corners and find the easiest and quickest way. And of course, in a society where corruption is rife, it makes it easy because there's willing buyers and willing sellers. So this notion of fake COVID results shouldn't surprise us at all. It's part and parcel of the way we live, which is a shame, really. And part of restructuring Nigeria should begin with restructuring ourselves individually. We shouldn't be doing these kind of things, and I think the government should institute some sort of sanctions, not just to the people who are producing the fake results, but the people who are actually tendering fake results. There could be some innocent victims who might have inadvertently, without intention, have acquired these things. But if you follow due process and you go through it properly, you go to a legitimate testing center, there's no way you would get a fake result. You'd get a genuine one. So what we should do is encourage people. And the way to encourage people is by sanctioning those who present fake results, because they're putting everybody's life at risk. COVID is a killer.
All right, there are also reports that some people would pay for this test and they won't come for the test result. They would actually take the test, they won't come for the test result, and someone would pay for it and would not still take the test. And also there are people who who just people who would just fake other people who, like same on this whole fake result thing. There are also people who would call for, there are people who would call the, I'm trying to get the word right. There are people who would call the emergency lines and say that they want to pick the results for other people who are not who are not even the owners of those results. And there's also this thought of people saying that they should close the airspace, because if they close the airspace, that way we will not have people keep coming in. And then we looked at the papers and they're saying that if the airspace is being closed, like it will have like huge effect on the economy. What do you think of that?
The same reason we are still trying to keep the airspace open still speaks to why they haven't even initiated another lockdown. We are looking at the economic impact. We are trying to balance the need for safety versus the need for survival. You have to look at both. It's a question of which comes first, the chicken or the egg. Do you protect the economy at the risk of human life, or do you protect human life at the risk of the economy? Some will say, well, you need to be alive to participate in the economy. Some will say, well, you need an economy to sustain human life. So there has to be a bit of a balance. So they're trying to say, we don't have to close the airspace, we don't have to lock down, as long as people conform. What does it take to comply with regulations? And the regulations are not that difficult. In terms of international travel, the people who are coming into the country for Christmas holidays and all, they are coming from countries that are heavily impacted by COVID, the UK, the US. So there has to be a process of care taken to ensure that they're not importing the disease into our locality. And so the protocols that have been put in place, take a test when you come in, self-isolate for 10 to 14 days, social distance, don't go to crowded places, wear your face mask at all times. These are not prohibitively difficult things to do, but our people are not complying, and that is why it becomes very difficult to try and curb this second wave.
All right, according to World Bank, now COVID-19 has raised the learning poverty rates to 63% in Nigeria, and the question is, why exactly is it impossible for our educational systems to deliver even basic educations to students at home? Because now, if you watch out for that's the students who have been at home from ASU. It's been like over 9 months right now, and they're saying they're going to resume on the 18th, of which NUC has come out to say they might not resume. So there's this whole back and forth between ASU, federal government, and even NUC too. Now, why exactly has it been so hard for why has it been very impossible for our educational system to deliver basic education to students at home?
I think the issue has to do with the infrastructure and the setup of the educational system, because the technology exists. COVID has demystified this notion of the fact that you have to sit in a classroom to learn, or you have to actually go to a conference to participate, or for training you have to be at a seminar. There's the technology where we can do everything virtually now, and as a result there's a lot of virtual learning going on. When the lockdown was the major lockdown we had in the country, when it was fully in place, there were children of private schools that were actually learning. They were taking classes at home through the computer, through their devices. So it's not an impossible thing to do. There just has to be the political will and the need to expend the required financing to be able to put the right infrastructure in place. It's not a cheap thing to do. Also, it requires a cultural reorientation. There are people who, even in the classroom, they don't show discipline, they're not learning to the best of their ability, despite the fact that they have immediate supervision. So imagine you are now remote at home, relaxed, there's TV in one corner, there's a refrigerator in the other corner where you can go and indulge. So it's very easy to get distracted. So it takes not just the political will, but also takes the individual will of the learners to apply themselves to virtual learning. So I think it requires a bit of input from both sides.
Okay, so it seems we'll be going to that of the Catholic diocese, and that's Bishop Matthew Kukah. So in his Christmas message, he accused the president of nepotism. He said that this government holds the nation and explanation as to where it is headed, and it seems it seems to journey into darkness. Now, there's been a lot of reaction to Dick's statement on social media. We have the reaction of CNG, that's Coalition of Northern Groups, also that of Christian Association and Murik. So I would like to get your own reaction first before we actually discuss more about their reactions.
I think the focus misses the point. The focus and look, for example, when you introduced the topic, you said his statement accused President Buhari of nepotism.
Yes.
I think that was not the central point of his message. That was just in passing. That was an aside in his overall message, which is what I want us to focus on. Because what this man has spoken consistently about for the last 30 years have all related to the progress and development of Nigeria. That's all he's interested in. And in sending that message out, he normally points up to his perceptions of shortcomings in the way things are being done. So I don't think he set out to attack President Buhari per se. I think his focus was, look, the insecurity has gotten to the point where we're all in big trouble here. I think that was the central focus of his message. And in passing, he now tried to allude to some of the causes or some of the things that are propelling the insecurity. One of them, just one of them, happened to be his belief that the president's seeming penchant for appointing or favoring people from a particular part of the country may be partially responsible for some of the insecurity issues we are seeing. So, if we look at the context of the overall message itself, it's speaking to how Nigeria can be better and the things we need to avoid doing to continue down this ruinous path that we're going. So let's not overemphasize the issue of him talking directly to the president about perceived shortcomings. Let's look at the centrality of his message.
Okay, they have other groups that have said that his statement is actually reckless and unguarded. And like Murika says, they said he is accusing Muslim of Islam of being a very violent religion. Now, what do you think about them trying to relate this statement now, his Christmas message, to some other type of like Islamization and all that?
They're trying to put an ethnic and religious coloration on the statement because it was a man of God who said it. I read the statement and I didn't see anywhere in there where he said anything related to the fact that Islam is a violent religion. I didn't see it. Well, he may not have said it in so many words. Perhaps there's a hidden allusion in there, but I believe I have some competence in analyzing text, and I read it and I didn't see any such thing. The issue for me is, if you look at those who are lining up for and those who are lining up against, yes, you can begin to see certain divisions. Mm-hmm. You can see that the Christian bodies, even in the north, are lining up to support the statement and Bishop Kukah. The non-Christian groups in the north are speaking against what Bishop Kukah had to say. So right there, that's a religious division. I wouldn't say it's a north versus south, because some of the Christian bodies in the north have supported him. So not necessarily ethnic, but there's a religious divide to where those who are of the same religious orientation as Bishop Kukah are backing what he had to say, and those who are of different religious persuasions are going against what he had to say. So to me, that muddies the water of the message, because all of a sudden you are biased based on the religion you practice. I think that is a disservice to the message itself, because I don't think when Bishop Kukah was putting it out there, he was thinking religion. I think he was thinking Nigeria, progress and development of the country. The fact that he's a man of God saying it does not necessarily mean that he was saying it from a religious standpoint.
Okay, now he has been accused of some things, and that Murik accused Kuka of being aware of the creed of those who were lay travelers in the Plateau religion. That's they kill Muslims, and after killing them, killing Muslims among those that they get inside the bus, they dump them inside. They just dump them anywhere on the land, or they also dump them inside ponds and wells of Plateau, never to be seen again. And they said, Bishop Kuka is aware of this. So now this accusation is what people are not really getting to, because even the other group, that coalition of Northern, they accused them. They said that he's like some other preachers who use the pulpits, to talk against things that they are not supposed to talk against. That. So this accusation is what I would like you to react to, saying that the bishop is aware of what is going on there, the killings of Muslims.
Are they trying to say that Christians are not being killed in the north as well? I think that all the insecurity in the north, banditry, terrorism, herdsmen, all that, I think it does not wear any sort of religious cloak or covering. I think anybody is fair game to the terrorists in the north, and just as they're killing Christians, they're killing Muslims too. So if any of these northern groups are accusing Bishop Kuka of knowing that certain people are being systematically targeted for attack, and he's not speaking up about that, I likewise think that at the same time people from Bishop Kuka's faith are also being subjected to some of these very same insecurity issues, which is why he's speaking globally. He's speaking generally about the scourge of insecurity against everybody. Now, I think that it is to some extent leaders, men of God, religious leaders do have some responsibility to their parishioners, to their congregants, to try and help them interpret the world around us, the things that are happening on a daily basis. Look, for example, a week or two ago, Pastor Tony Bakari was in the news because he also got political on the pulpit and spoke about a particular political leader and made certain statements that caused a lot of controversy that were also interpreted in various ways. And all of a sudden the issue came about, to what extent should religious leaders invoke politics on the pulpit? And that's where we have to start asking ourselves, yes, we know they have a responsibility towards their followers, to help them to understand and to make sense of, because in the world we live in today, right and wrong is not very clear anymore. We're not so sure. There's so much going on around us, particularly with social media, that even us in the media, part of the job we do is to interpret what is happening out there in the world so that our readers and our viewers have a better understanding of the realities of life as it is today. So that's what the men of God are trying to do. And to some extent, yes, they need to sensitize their followers to political realities and to how they perceive the political process to be playing out.
Okay, so last time on this now, it seems, you said you read the statement and you saw everything now. And Murik is saying that, Christian Association, or that, Kuka is calling for a coup against democratically elected President Muhammadu Buhari. So now calling for a coup, when we talk about calling for a coup, it's something that people take seriously. Now this statement, did you read anything that is like referring to people?
Well, it's very easy to accuse anybody of that kind of insurrection. I remember Showore's, I forget the name of his protest. They said he was calling for a coup. I remember NSAS, they said the NSAS was calling for violent overthrow of the government. Now they are saying Kuka's statement is calling for. It seems as if at any time you criticize government, or you say things that, or you point out shortcomings of government, the easiest way to discredit you is to say, you're calling for a coup, you're calling for a violent overthrow of the government. The only legitimate way to change a government is through the ballot box. But that does not stop criticism of government. In fact, that is what the media, the electorate. That's what we all exist to do, is that when things are not going the way we want them to go, we're supposed to be able to speak up. That's why we have freedom of the press, freedom of expression, freedom of all those freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution are there so that we can freely criticize government without fear or favor. So no, Governor Kuka was, Bishop Kuka was not calling for a coup, not by any stretch of the imagination. All he was simply saying was, look, government, do what you're supposed to do the right thing for the people. And at the end of it all, 2023 is not that far away. That's when the coup will happen. It's 2023, and that coup will be orchestrated by what? Your PVC. That's how coups happen in a democratic dispensation, and that's the way this one will happen.
All right, let's move on to insecurity, and that's the fact that the House of Rep is saying that he never apologized to the presidency for inviting him over the briefing for the House on the escalation of the security situation. Now, this was happening like around that time. There was a back and forth with Malami saying that they do not have any right to invite the presidency and all of that. But now the question is it wrong to invite the presidency over the happenings in the country, especially in matters that involves insecurity?
People were splitting hairs between an invitation and a summons. That's where it got technical. Was that, does the House have the power to invite, or do they have the power to summon? And we're not lawyers, so we can't really say. But I do know that the House of Representatives has oversight responsibility. They are the representatives of the people, and I do believe that they have an obligation to investigate, to inquire, to research about things that their constituents are not comfortable with, or things that are jeopardizing the life and well-being of their constituents. So I don't think it was out of the ordinary. I don't think it was wrong for them to have asked the president to come and address them, so they can now take the president's message back to their constituents. Since the president wasn't ready or wasn't willing to address the people directly, we'll at least speak to their representatives, so their representatives can go back and reassure their people that the administration is working on the insecurity issues. Now, the problem about apologizing or not apologizing, they've got egg on their face because there was some sort of miscommunication to where they invited or they summoned, he agreed to come, then at the last minute he was advised. From where I sit, I think the president made a mistake in not going. Whether summoned, whether invited, whether asked, whether begged, whatever the case may be, I think from a political standpoint, I think that it would have been good for him to go, for him to speak and reassure the country. I think it's to the point where this insecurity thing has got to a point where nobody's mind is addressed anymore, and anything that we can do by way of our leader reassuring us that, look, yes, I'm sorry that so many things have happened of late, so many people have died, but this is what we're doing, without necessarily revealing tactics or strategy. You can come out there and you can speak to the people's representatives in a way of reassuring them that you are on top of the situation and you will continue to do your best to arrest the scourge. So I think he missed a golden opportunity, regardless of the politics involved, regardless of the legality. If I were him when Malami came and said, don't go, I would have said, sit down somewhere, I'm going, because these are my people. I am their leader. I have a responsibility to reassure them, to put their minds at rest that we are on top of this situation, and I would have gone and I would have faced. So now, what you're seeing here is damage control, because people are saying, hang on, House of Rep, if all three branches of government are equal, that's according to the Constitution, all three branches, legislature, executive and judiciary, they're all equal, and legislature has oversight responsibilities both on the executive and on the judiciary. They pass the laws, they make the laws. I put it to you this way: the legislature has the power to impeach the president. I'm sure you're aware of that. Legislature can get up, vote tomorrow and kick the president out even before the next elections. So if they have the power to impeach the president, they also have the right to ask him to come and speak to them as well. So when that happened now, people are now criticizing them that, oh, you're just a rubber stamp legislature, you are just a figurehead, you're a white elephant, you're not useful for anything if you can't even make the president come and speak to you. So they're now covering their rear end by saying, well, we didn't apologize, we're still standing on the ground that we invited him and he is the one who chose not to come, and we're not apologizing for trying to do our job. So what it is now is everybody's running for cover, trying to protect their reputation.
Okay, let's just quickly talk about what's currently going on in Delta, and that stakeholders in the Delta, they voiced out their worries at the federal government, at the failure of the federal government, to tackle some of the problems going on in the oil-rich but underdeveloped zone, and talking about them. Talking about the federal government in general, they've also accused that this administration of being the first to shun, setting up of a board for the Niger Delta Development Commission. So I would like you to react to their statement, because many people have been saying that they have the right to say what's in their mind, especially since what we get in the country and what the country really depends on. It's coming from their side, and it's supposed to be developed, and it's supposed to be a side that that people are supposed to be looking up to. But it seems is a place that people don't want to go to because of how underdeveloped the zone is.
The fact that the Niger Delta is underdeveloped really has nothing to do with the political will of the federal government, any of the current administration and any of the past administrations. For one thing, if you look at the fact that a development corporation was set up, the NDDC, specifically to look into developing that region, and it has been funded by every administration, funded properly. So if it's not doing its job, especially I believe all those who have headed the NDDC have been from the Niger Delta themselves, all the way you look in the past. We also have a Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, and we also have 13% derivation that goes to that particular area of the country, because we recognize the fact that we are getting this oil, this rich resource from there, and some of the funds should be plowed back into developing that particular area. So my point is, if the development is not happening, I think Niger Delta should look inward at its own people, its leaders, its chiefs, its politicians, its administrators, and start to ask the questions. Because I think the federal government has set up all the necessary agencies, all the necessary infrastructure to facilitate development. So if it's not happening, especially when money is also allocated to all these agencies, if it's not happening, who is to blame? The federal government, as far as I'm concerned, has done its part by all those things I mentioned, setting up the NDDC. Now they say this particular administration has not set up the board. Why? Because the NDDC has been a cesspit of corruption, because there's so much money being thrown into the NDDC that it is a magnet for any and every carpetbagger in that neck of the woods who sees it as a cash cow that is waiting to be milked. So everybody makes a rush for the NDDC to go and bid for contracts, to get plum jobs and positions in the NDDC, and people are just enriching themselves, and to the detriment of the environment, the communities, the states. Individuals are the ones who are making off and making good in that area. So no, the reason this administration has not set up the board for the NDDC is because it's trying to root out the corruption that has become systemic and endemic in that agency and all the other agencies of the Niger Delta. So to those Niger Delta people who are complaining, I would say they should look inward and begin to interrogate. First of all, let them even go online and go and first find out the budget, how much money has been allocated to all the different agencies, Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, NDDC, all those places. The 13% derivation, who collected it and what has been done with it for the last how many years? I believe NDDC was set up by President Obasanjo either in 99 or 2000 when he first came back as president when we entered this democratic dispensation. How many billions have been allocated to NDDC, and where did that money go, and what has been done with it all these years? So no, I think it's too easy to point fingers and try and blame and say the federal government is not interested in the development of the Niger Delta. I totally disagree with that. Otherwise, we wouldn't see all of these initiatives they have set up towards that.
All right, that's all we can take this morning. Thank you so much, Mr. Daya Akintobi, publisher of Idukpeju Today. Thank you for joining us this morning. I think we'll just take Mr. and Mrs. so we'll get your reaction on that one. Right. And Mrs. is saying, my mother wants to know why you didn't send anything to her during Christmas, yet you spent a fortune entertaining your friends. And Mr. replies, how did she know I entertained my friends? Why didn't her informant tell her that your friends were also entertained? The whole back and forth thing. What do you think about that?
That's interesting. Well, it goes to talk about the competition between husband and wife, and he said and she said, and yes, of course, if he's at the same time entertaining his friends and entertaining her friends, as far as he's concerned, he's fulfilled all righteousness, and that righteousness may not extend to the mother-in-law. Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
All right, that's all we can take this morning. Remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. As well as you want to find out up-to-date stories, you can go on our website www.vanguardngl.com to find out more. Till I come your way next time, I remain Precious Chukudi and
Damnala Obushakin.
Thank you for watching.
Ports face total shutdown nationwide. See page 5.
She overwhelmed by security challenges.
Hello and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard. Here on Today in the News,
we read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories on the front pages of the paper.
Also take your insightful comments of what's going on here in Nigeria and across the world. Join us Mondays through to Friday
on Vanguard Live.